Am I the a-hole for saying I feel like the least prioritized member of my family and like my parents' least favorite kid? My family is made up of me, 16M, my sister Hannah, 15F, my brothers Connor, 13M, and Seth, 11M, my youngest sister Jade, 9F, and our parents, both 49. Out of my siblings, Connor and Jade have ADHD, and Seth has dyslexia. I understand that those conditions require extra patience, more appointments, and sometimes unique teaching approaches. I've never had a problem with that. I know they need the help. Hannah doesn't have any diagnosed learning differences, but she has something else my parents absolutely adore, a talent for horseback riding. She's good, like competition level good, and my parents have been incredibly supportive of that. They pay for lessons, shows, travel, gear, and everything else, without hesitation. Weekends often revolve around her schedule. The living room shelves are full of her ribbons and trophies, proudly displayed. I get it. She's their shining star, the one with an impressive thing that everyone can point to and say, look at what she's achieved. But when it comes to me, I don't really have anything like that, at least not anything they've chosen to value. My hobbies, my school struggles, my achievements, they never seem important enough to make me a priority. When I was younger, I found something I loved: gymnastics. I wasn't just okay at it, my coaches thought I had real potential. I felt strong, confident, and for once noticed. But after a while, my parents decided it was too much and pulled me out. No big conversation. No attempt to make it work. Just gone. Later, in middle school, I discovered carpentry. We had a class where you could build projects out of wood, and I fell in love with it instantly. I started making vases, boxes, little furniture pieces. It wasn't just fun, it was something I could pour myself into, something that felt mine. My teachers praised my work, and I started thinking maybe I could even do something with this in the future. But then my parents announced we were moving to a different school district. They told me I wouldn't be able to keep taking carpentry because it wouldn't fit with our new schedule. I later realized the truth. After we moved, Hannah still drove to her same trainer, which was farther than my carpentry class would have been, and Seth still went to his art program, which also took more time and money. So, why was mine the only activity that didn't survive the move? The move, they said, was for Jade. Her IEP wasn't being respected at her old school, and she needed a better environment. I wasn't mad at Jade for that, but I noticed this was actually the second time we'd moved for a sibling's education. The first time, it was for Seth. When my high school teachers noticed I was struggling in a few subjects, they recommended extra tutoring. They reached out to my parents more than once, and so did my guidance counselor. But my parents said it wasn't worth the money and told me I'd just have to manage on my own. My school doesn't offer free tutoring, so I've been limping through classes ever since, hoping to scrape passing grades. And here's the kicker. Hannah, who also doesn't have ADHD or dyslexia, gets a math tutor because it's her weakest subject. My parents say she needs to keep up so she won't fall behind in competitions, since she's so busy with horses. Apparently, my education isn't worth investing in, but hers is. One of the moments that really hit me was while packing for the move. I found the wooden vases I'd made for my parents in carpentry class shoved into a corner of the garage, dusty and broken. When I asked about them, they shrugged and said they were just junk and tossed them. I stood there, holding back the urge to say, I made those for you. But I didn't. I knew it wouldn't matter. After the move, family stress was high, and my parents suddenly decided we all needed family therapy. During one session, I finally did something I'd never done before. I told them exactly how I felt. I said I thought I was the least prioritized member of the family and felt like their least favorite kid. I explained about the activities, the lack of academic support, the way my interests were always the ones cut or ignored. The therapist actually turned to them and asked about the double standard. My parents' faces hardened immediately. They told me I had a victimhood mindset and that I should be grateful I didn't need the extra help my siblings required. The next 2 sessions after that were brutal. Every answer I gave was met with coldness or short, clipped responses. At home, the tension was so thick, I barely wanted to speak. Then one evening, my parents said they needed space from my selfish attitude and sent me to live with my grandparents for a few weeks. The therapist didn't approve, but they did it anyway, framing it as for the good of the family. At my grandparents' house, I kept replaying the therapy session in my head, wondering if I'd made a huge mistake by speaking up. Maybe if I'd stayed quiet, everything would be fine. I'd still feel invisible, but at least I wouldn't have been punished for saying so. But then another part of me thinks, why shouldn't I be allowed to say I feel hurt? Why is it selfish to want even a fraction of the support, attention, or encouragement my siblings get? I've spent years swallowing my feelings, pretending it's fine, telling myself that I just need to be more understanding. I love my siblings. None of this is their fault. But I can't shake the feeling that if I vanished tomorrow, my parents' lives wouldn't change much, except maybe it would make their schedules easier. So, am I the a-hole for telling my parents I feel like the least prioritized and their least favorite kid?